Welcome to the streets of rock and roll with your host, Ron Keel.
Join me on the Streets of Rock and Roll radio show. The playlist is always packed with great music.
Got to get back to the streets of rock and roll.
And exclusive interviews with the heavy hitters who make the hits.
Hey, this is Paul Stanley from Kiss.
Hey, everybody, it's Gene Simmons.
No one rocks like the resident rock star, Ron Keel,
the Metal Cowboy.
Out on the streets of rock and roll.
Packed with heavy metal balls.
We get a little wet, but we keep on rocking.
And it's always a blast, a pleasure, an honor, and a thrill.
Hey, you freaking kidding me, man?
Meet me on the Streets of Rock and Roll every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on KRFKradio.com. Let's do this.
Ron Keel Fan Club.
Hey, the Don Jamieson Fan Club reporting for duty.
Here I am.
Man, great to talk to you. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely, Ron. How you been?
I am absolutely slammed, grinding, getting ready for Rockin' Pod. I'm already in Nashville, but we'll talk about that during the interview. Can I get those liners from you? You want to cut those in your studio on your mic, or you want to do them over the phone?
Okay, we're not on the air now.
Well, the disclaimer is that everything we do from the phone call to the hang-up goes on the podcast version, and then I edit it down to 13 minutes for the radio broadcast.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I didn't know, so I went right into radio mode. But I sent you a couple liners.
Oh, cool. All right, then.
I emailed them to you. So if you don't get them for whatever reason, I can redo them for you.
Absolutely. Let me check your level. Talk to me a little bit more there, Don.
Hey, testing 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. All right, let's do this. That is Tuck Smith and the Restless Hearts with Girls on the East Side of Town, spelled T-U-K, Tuck Smith, a new young artist. It's a perfect throwback to the 70s. Definitely, I hear a Thin Lizzy kind of vibe there, and Tuck Smith will be at the Nashville Rockin' Pod Expo as well. Okay, our headliner, he's an Emmy Award winner. His comedy albums on Metal Blade Records are wildly successful. All of them reached the top 20 on iTunes and top 10 on the Billboard comedy charts. He became a rock and metal celebrity, starring on VH1's That Metal Show. And now he's cruising down the streets of rock and roll with us. Please welcome Don Jamieson. Hello, Don. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely, Ron. Good to be reconnected with you, and lots of stuff going on in your world, and thank you for including me in on all of it.
Oh, thank you for including yourself. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first of all, welcome home, man. I know you just got back from a round of tour dates overseas. How'd it go?
Oh man, dude, the British audiences were really amazing and accepting. I was out with the Black Star Riders and Michael Monroe and Phil Campbell from Motorhead, and throw this goofy American comedian into the lineup too. And I'm expecting various items to be tossed at me during my set, but man, they were just great, and they love to laugh, and it was just really, good times all around, good people, out with the legendary Scott Gorham from Thin Lizzy. Wow. And of course, like I said, Phil Campbell, just some real heavy hitters on that tour. So honored to be a part of it. But good to be home here in Jersey now.
Right on. And welcome home. And I got to say thank you for contributing your Alice, Ozzy, Zach, and Buzz stand-up comedy track to our new Live the Rock compilation album from RFK Media. We just announced that, and we really appreciate it, man. Having someone of your caliber on the track listing gives this project a huge boost.
Dude, Ron, man, I got to say, man, from my end, when I was, 12, 13, whenever I got the first, Steeler album, and then, following through Keel and your whole career, and then getting to know you on the Monsters cruise, and just all along the way, the fact that you would even, think to include me on there, the teenage me would have never thought, I'd be collaborating with you. So great honor for me, dude.
Oh, thank you, man. Well, we want to branch out into comedy, and our RFK Media company is focusing on all aspects of creativity and art. And, I start at the top. You were at the top of my list, and I figured if you turned me down, I'd go to the next in line, which is my daughter, Kelly Keel. I'll have to talk to you about her at some other point. She's a stand-up comic as well. But, yeah, like you said, you and I have had some good times on events like the Monsters Cruise, and I've enjoyed getting to know you better through your phone calls and emails, but I really don't know much about your history, like millions of people. I just turned on the TV one day, and there you were with Eddie Trunk and Jim Florentine on That Metal Show. Give me some of the backstory that led up to that.
Well, I was just as surprised as you were. Believe me. To think, again, Ron, part of being a fan is that, we never lose that. And so, again, for the 13-year-old me or the 10-year-old me who picked up Kiss Destroyer for the first time, to think I would be on television with two of my best friends talking to Ace Frehley or Pete or Chris, and then, of course, 14 seasons worth of great guests is just, it still sort of blows my mind to think that we actually did that. And, we had such a good run with it, and just people just still come up all the time and say, "Hey, when's the show coming back?" And I miss it, and I say, we all miss it too. My mortgage broker misses it. Everybody involved misses it. But you never know. Things always things come back into style again. Bell bottoms came back. Lots of things came back. So
vinyl,
maybe someday vinyl came back, which I'm a complete maniac over. So we'll see what happens. But I always say, I talked to Ricky Rackman about this, who did Headbangers Ball. That went off in '95. We started in 2008. So that's 13 years where the music that we love was not supported like in a major way. So no matter what happens with the three of us, I hope somebody comes along and does something and gives these bands the support that they deserve, on television in a big way, so that people all around the world have somewhere to go. You're not going to see, Megadeth on, any of the late night shows. You're not going to see any of the bands that we love sitting down, they want to have Gwyneth Paltrow and Channing Tatum to talk to on the couch. God forbid they had a Devin Townsend or somebody like that on. So that was a place where we were the place they could come, and we supported them.
I'm speaking with big-time rock and metal personality Don Jamieson, whom we'll be seeing at the Nashville Rock and Pod Expo March 17th, 18th, and 19th. I can't wait to see you, Don, but what's on your agenda during that convention? You're going to be a busy guy.
Yeah, Ron, this is so much fun when we do this because, but besides just, kind of soaking in, all the fans and meeting people and having a table there and greeting people, I'm getting pulled in 15 different directions. I know, I'm going to have a comedy show on the Thursday night. I know we're roasting Kiss Exposed, the DVD, one night, me and some fellow comedian friends of mine, like Craig Gass and Courtney Cronin Dold. And then we're going to do a thing we call Punchlines and Backlines. Again, myself, Craig, and Courtney, and we're going to get a rocker to come up and do stand-up for the first time as well, and that's on the Sunday night. So, I'm running from one thing to the next, and I really kind of love it.
I look forward to seeing you there, man. Once again, everyone, Rockin' Pod is Nashville's ultimate annual rock and roll expo, which brings together fans, celebrities, podcasters, radio broadcasters, vendors, and other members of the music community for a weekend celebrating rock and roll. Tickets can be found on the websites rockinpod.com, rock, the letter N, rocknpod.com, and keelfest.com. Don, are you going to make that Keelfest concert on Saturday night, March 18th?
Dude, I will be there in one shape or form. Even if they got to clone me somehow, I will I will get there, my friend, because I'm like you, man. Like, after all these years, we're still hungry, and I love that. Look at you. You've built this media company where you're supporting, some of the older acts, but also supporting the new acts. And this is such a passion for you and all the things you've done in radio. And I feel the same way. You know, I do a podcast and I do everything I can to get out there and help the bands. And of course, I do my regular stand-up dates at the comedy clubs or out on the road with bands. But I love the fact that we're still hungry for it, man. That's just part of being a fan, man. You never lose that.
Exactly. And I'm a fan first, too, man. I grew up loving the bands that influenced me and being a fan. And that part of us, we can never let that die. I'll put you on the guest list for Keelfest if you put me on the guest list for your big show the following night, Sunday the 19th. Craig Gass, as you mentioned, Courtney Cronin-Dold, and I believe their rock star comedian is Eric Martin.
That's correct. And then the Eric Martin band is going to play right after that. So it's going to be a big night. And hey, we got to get you up there one of these times, Ron.
I would love to, man. I would love to. I'll be there in some shape or form after the gig Saturday, and then I've got an all-day VIP fan experience that I'm doing with some very special people on Sunday, but we're planning to end the weekend with you, Courtney, Craig, and E-Mart, as I call him. What a sweet guy. We've done some cool gigs together. In addition to his acoustic show, he's doing a stand-up comedy gig. Eric Martin doing stand-up comedy, man. You can't miss that. Rockin' Pod began as a gathering for the podcast community. It's gotten bigger every year, and your weekly online program entitled That Jamieson Show can be found at compoundmedia.com. That's a podcast, right? It's okay to call it that.
Yeah, podcast, webcast, whatever you want to call it. Just basically me, talking to all our rock friends out there in the world and rock comedians and everything. So it's a little bit, like picking up where that metal show left off, but sort of doing it on my own, which, honestly, Ron, was kind of a challenge. I learned how to interview bands with two other people. So when I started doing it myself, I really had to figure out like what my style is. And, just like, even though I've been doing comedy 23 years, I think I'm still trying to figure out how to do this thing, but I'm having fun doing it. And again, just love supporting all the acts.
Yeah, it's a great show. That Jamieson Show at compoundmedia.com. You were awarded an Emmy, EMMY. I mean, that's big time for your work on HBO's Inside the NFL. You co-hosted Beer Money, a sports trivia show in New York. So in addition to being a metalhead, you're obviously a sports fan as well.
Well, yeah, and again, worlds colliding, Ron. The three biggest things in my life, as far as that I have passion for: comedy, music, sports, and I've worked in all of them. And winning an Emmy, of course, certainly being the strangest of all three. But I truly do. And people come into my house and they see it, and I have to try to convince them. I didn't melt down a bowling trophy and create my own. It's the real thing, and certainly I'm proud of it. And my buddy Jim Florentine, who I work with on that, has one as well. So hey man, again, it's just a great honor along the way. But I go, that's good. Now what's next?
That's cool, man. Rock and roll for me is my sport of choice, but being that close to the industry in sports and broadcasting, who are some of your sports heroes that you've gotten to actually meet and hang out with?
Well, my two, pardon me, Ron. My two biggest were Tom Seaver, who was a pitcher for the New York Mets back in the 70s, the huge hero of mine. Yeah. And when I did the Beer Money show, part of that was for a channel called SNY, which is the New York Mets channel. And part of my deal was they would give me tickets to a certain amount of games, and they gave me the Mets suite for two of the games. And I took Eddie Trunk to one of the games because he's a big Mets fan. Oh, yeah. We're in the suite, and I'm facing the field. He's looking at me, and he sees something over my shoulder, and I see his eyes pop out of his head. And he just goes, Tom Seaver just walked into the suite. Tom Seaver just walked in the suite. I'm like, how are we going to meet him? And by the time I said that, he was standing right behind me, and I just turned around. And I said, hi, Mr. Seaver. And he was so nice, and my friend Brian was with us. And he was drinking a glass of red wine, and Tom was like, how is that wine? And here in the suite, he goes, it's pretty good. And he takes the glass and he chugs it down. He goes, mine's a little better. I'm going to go up and get a case of it. Wow. So Tom's leaving, And I go, wait, Mr. Seaver, can we get a picture with you? And he turns around and he goes, absolutely not.
Ooh.
And Ron, my whole childhood crumbled before me. And then he just started laughing and goes, of course, come on, let's get a picture, everyone. So we ended up getting the photo, and it was all good. And then the other guy was Joe Namath from the New York Jets, again, back in the 70s, Joe Willie.
Yeah.
A superstar before there were superstars. And I got to meet him once as well, and he couldn't have been cooler, and he signed my jersey and everything. So, all good. And then the same in rock, man. It's like they say don't meet your idols, but, dude, honestly, from everybody, from you to James Hetfield to everybody I've met along the way, they've been so super cool.
Oh, we can go off the record real quick. I want to share with you my biggest sports hero moment was having drinks with Max McGee, who won the winning who caught the winning touchdown pass in Super Bowl #1. Former Green Bay Packer, Max McGee, and he's sitting there, we're having a beer together, and he's folding his fingers on his hands back because they're so broken that he can't even hold his beer. And he's showing me his fingers moving all these different directions. And I'm sitting there with Max McGee, the guy who caught the winning touchdown in Super Bowl I. So I know we cherish those memories as fans first of both musicians and our sports heroes. As a musician and hosting a radio show, Don, I'm constantly bombarded by people sending me music all day, every day. Music in every possible inbox or feed. Is it the same with you in your arena? Are people always feeding you jokes?
Oh, wow. Yeah. But the thing about just regular street jokes is if you tell me one right now, by the time we get off the phone, I won't remember it anymore. Because honestly, the stuff I do on stage is, it's about me and my life. That's what I can remember, but I never remember street jokes. And last Thanksgiving, the Bennington show on Sirius XM, they invite a bunch of comics to just come up on stage and like 50 of us, and everybody do one street joke each in front of a live crowd. You never saw 50 more scared comedians in your life backstage going, do you have a street joke? I don't know any. Do you know any? I did. So anybody who tells me a street joke, I appreciate it because I could hear the same one 50 times in a year and it'll still be new to me.
You recently commented on my Instagram post where I was outside in a blizzard here in South Dakota where I live, shoveling tons of snow. Dude, I haven't seen that much white powder since the 80s.
Well, yeah, I get a good one off every once in a while on Instagram,
Man, I could never do comedy. Man, that's a lot of pressure. They either laugh or they don't, right? I mean, I'm looking out in my audience. I can see a dude out there in a leather jacket with his arms folded, with a mean scowl on his face. And you can still imagine that he's possibly enjoying the show. But when you're up there doing your stand-up gig, if they're not laughing, they're not laughing.
Ron, I've seen you perform, dude. You got the energy, you got the presence for it. You're charismatic with the crowd. I just need to throw you a couple. Take the snow joke, and we'll build from there.
All right, then, man. Real quick, favorite comedy movie of all time.
Oh boy, I mean, I think you always kind of go back to the ones from when you were younger, man. But I still watch it almost every time it comes on TV. But National Lampoon Vacation, I mean, Chevy Chase in his prime, Christy Brinkley in her prime. My God, what a funny movie! Right on. Favorite music movie of all time: Bohemian Rhapsody, Rockstar, Spinal Tap, whatever. Oh boy. Ooh, man. Wow, that's really tough, Ron. I mean, it's easy to say Spinal Tap, but it definitely wasn't Rockstar. I can tell you that. They kind of they Hollywooded that up a little too much, but man, I'd have to look through my collection. No, mine. Oh, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. Go ahead. The story of Anvil. Oh, yeah. The Anvil documentary. Absolutely. Dude, that is the funniest, saddest, most real thing about a band that you can imagine. And I toured opening for Anvil all over the States in 2019. And there were times we were all sitting backstage and Lips and Rob start arguing. And I'm like, I'm in the friggin' movie right now.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great choice.
Because that's exactly how they're like.
Yeah, no matter how successful or unsuccessful you've been, we can all identify with that movie and that story.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite music movie of all time is Eddie and the Cruisers, man. You know, obviously, and Eddie and the Cruisers too. The sequel, I love the sequel. When they filmed the climactic scene for Eddie and the Cruisers 2, the second movie, we were on tour with Bon Jovi and playing at the Meadowlands in Jersey with Bon Jovi, and they said there's going to be a movie shoot earlier today, and they brought the crowd in early, and they did that final scene, and then an hour later, I'm on that stage opening for Bon Jovi on their Slippery When Wet tour, and every time I see the movie, I go, that's my spot, man. That's where I stood that night. You know, it's just so cool. So cool.
That's great. You have a personal connection with it. I was just up in New Bedford, Massachusetts, doing some gigs, and that's where Eddie and the Cruisers are from. So it's a little Eddie and the Cruisers world I'm living in right now.
I love it. My first date with my wife was watching both movies back to back. I said, "You want to know me? You got to get to know Eddie." And really, that was our first date, and she's still with me after 15 years. My special guest, Don Jamieson. Find him online at donjamieson.com. Meet him at the Nashville Rock and Pod Expo and hear him on Live the Rock, the new compilation album available at rfkmedia.com and livetherock.com. Maybe Don will autograph our CDs at the expo. Man, thanks so much for everything, for coming on the show. I'll see you in Nashville.
Ron, thanks for including me, man. I can't wait to hang and rock with you. Long live Keelfest, and let's do this, brother.
Thank you. Don Jamieson on the streets of rock and roll. Back after this. Man, that was epic. I thank you more than you can possibly imagine for being involved in this record. I just picked up the CDs today. I haven't unboxed them yet. I'm going to do that on video. And we're going to announce your participation. You're the final announcement on the show Wednesday. As I'll announce your participation, and then we'll get to the interview and play music from all the other artists on the show. I mean, we've got Twisted Sister and Accept and all kinds of great music to play from Eric Martin and so forth on this episode of the show. But man, you're my headliner, and I will be forever grateful, man. You're awesome.
Oh. Yo, dude, likewise. And obviously any kind of promotion I can help you do with, I'm going to do. So that goes without saying.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. And I'm going to get to slicing and dicing. I'm going to cut out all my slop and keep yours.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Don. Talk to you soon, man. I'll see you in Nashville.